be surprised when you try to look at deep neural nets. You think, oh my God, this is general relativity. General relativity, special relativity and general relativity. And you'd be surprised that the machine learning algorithms, especially the attention networks, where you have these Q matrix and the key value matrix value matrix and key matrices you discover, these are nothing but some kind of tensors in a manifold. The whole general relativity is finding how to measure distance between 2 points in a curved spaces. And our machine learning algorithms basically trying to compute the surface of this particular decision system, whatever that decision system is. These surfaces are manifold, and you're trying to find the distance between 2 points on the surface. That means you need to know their geometric tensor. You need to know their distant matrices you have to do. So, for example, if you want to measure distance between 2 points on a sphere, you don't apply Pythagoras theorem knowing latitude and longitude. You need to know the appropriate tensor that converts latitude and longitude in such a way that you actually measure the distance between those 2 points. So basically what I'm saying is a lot of maths and everything that you learn in physics and maths are very applicable in machine learning. Again, how do you read technical content? If you have a technical paper that you want to discuss, next week with your professor, and you don't read it like a novel. Maybe you can read it like a novel. The first 5 pages, first 5 lines of the introduction. So it doesn't help you unless you know all the technical content and you are just revising, or you are a genius. Otherwise, you can't read it like a novel. A genius might be able to read, back to one. I generally need 1 pass to read any paper, almost any paper that I ever read, and also remember forever. These are technical papers. And the reason I only need single pass is I will not read the next line unless I understood everything until to that point. Otherwise, I would backtrack and go to the relevant part that why it doesn't make sense, this particular equation or a line, and then I go back. So that makes me sometimes effectively reading more than twice maybe on some parts of the paper. But that's how you read it. That the way you have to read is you read and you have a break. That means you go backwards to the appropriate level and start going forward so that you understand. If you don't understand that line, no point in going further. And sometimes you go to a little bit forward because the reason is the author made a mistake in that line and that didn't make sense, but the next line made it clear for you, and then you can do that. Sometimes I do a little bit forward to see that whether I can break the problem, why I didn't understand that particular line. So whenever I read a paper, the way my brain works is that I almost predict what the author is going to tell me next. Similarly, when a good presenter gives his or her talk, I can almost predict what the next slide will be, or the following 3 or 4 slides. This is how I feel when I attend a seminar for a good presenter. So this is that style of reading you should cultivate. Never read a paper without understanding some parts of it. And if that's the case, you stop reading that paper and go back to your thesis advisor and you say, sir, oh, madam, I got stuck here. And that's how you should progress. And remember, your thesis advisor many times is no better than you. And sometimes you are much better because you have more time to read, more time to digest than a professor. Unless that professor happens to know the area so well, then she or he can solve your problem quickly. So don't expect your advisor didn't know, and don't even assume your advisor is somehow not as smart as you thought it might be, because we all have finite bandwidth. My time is limited. I might have not known, not read something that is relevant as a background, and therefore I was unable to do it. So what happens is in that situation, your advisor says, okay, let me go and find out the relevant work and we'll discuss next time. So this is how you do. Or the thesis advisor might not know. We need to go and talk to a mathematician in the department, in the uni, and we go to the mathematician and then do it. And this is what happened to me. And one day I was trying to find the optimal solution for a nonlinear equation, and in the department nobody knows, and I'm already a senior lecturer, and I didn't know how to solve it. When I was using certain techniques, and I went to maths department and I talked to one of the optimization guy, and that professor looked at me and he said, "You are as good as me." That's what he told me. And the reason is the problem. There are no solutions for nonlinear uh, optimization functions. There, unless they are convex functions, you don't have solutions. So you do some randomized algorithms, and that's what I was using. Monte Carlo methods I was using, and basically, that made me very happy in the sense that, okay, what I'm doing is not a wasted time. This is the best we can do in this context. So this is very important, that how you expand your advisory, capacity by going outside your supervisor, outside your department, sometimes outside your university. So, so once you understood, that means you are in the zone and your understanding is perfect. And if you keep reading forward, my hypothesis, once you understood, that you don't forget for the rest of your life, as I said earlier. A good researcher should always keep reading technical content regularly on the subject they have studied in the past. Sometimes you have to I mean, even today, I go and do some of the optimization papers I read even today to see what progress is made. It also makes their mind less fatigued. When you read other topics, I read so much of physics, quantum mechanics, relativity, and quantum field theory. I read, even though I'm a computer scientist. That makes my brain less fatigued, because I don't have to read just machine learning all the time. So I can feel, and sometimes reading all these other fields of mathematics makes you much more comfortable with what you're doing in your own computer science. So, so what should be the outcome of reading a technical paper? Once you read the paper, of course, first thing is understood the paper thoroughly. There is nothing that is not understood in the paper. That's the first thing. And then once that's done, make a set of PowerPoint slides. Uh, Again, as we talked about, with all the main interesting points of the paper. This is useful for good survey as well as you progress in your degree. And identify what are the good points and the gaps. That's the most important. Not just read the paper and then simply say, "Oh, I understood," and then go home. No, you need to question what are the good points and what are the gaps. For example, every paper will have some assumptions they make. They don't necessarily describe the assumptions. And you need to question, is those assumptions reasonable? Are they too restricted? And the first question you say is, they are too restricted. Can I make it a little bit more general? And what are the difficulties I'm going to face? And these are the things you're going to discuss right in your slides so that you can discuss with your advisor. Identifying those gaps can lead to new results and publications, and that's what the research is. And the presenting the slides to your advisor and get his or her feedback on your views is what makes you to go next step in your work. If you do not understand the paper, as I said, ask your advisor to read the paper for discussion in the next meeting, because supervisors sometimes not up to date, because they won't be, if they can't be, if they're, they have teaching commitments, they have other supervisory commitments, they have administrations. So sometimes their knowledge is sometimes 1/10 of what you have, but they have 300 times more of your experience. If you challenge them with a problem, they might be able to find a solution a lot more easily than you do. But actually, in terms of literature, you are in a better position than your advisor, provided you're reading all the papers, provided you understand them, and provided you don't forget them. And sometimes you might even have to approach the author for clarification because they might have made a mistake. Sometimes it could be an error that made in the paper, and that's the reason that you could not understand. And if that's the case, again, this might lead to new results and publications. Okay, presenting your work in a seminar. If you are systematic in maintaining PowerPoint slides, all papers you read or read, your own ideas and your own results, it's easy to give a presentation anytime. Within few hours of notification, you should be able to generate quick seminar presentation and be able to give it. Again, your presentation should follow a good styles of presentation, not too much content in each slide, large fonts so that everyone can see what in that slide. Graphs with all annotations should be readable. Sometimes people put 7 graphs in one slide, which is terrible. Or they put one graph with 2,000 curves in it, so you can't see anything. And they use lots of colors. And you may not know 30% of humans are colorblind. So that means 30% of them can't see it, and maybe 60% of them have short sight, so they can't see your slide. So effectively, nobody's following you if you have a bad slides. And some people put these Microsoft diagrams. I see usually PC people tend to do this. They look like commercial talk, and I hate such presentations. And also do not give trivial examples unless it is essential, or to ridicule something with a trivial example, then that's the best thing to do. So what is a good thesis? A good thesis is one that is well-written, language-wise, and you should AI tools to help you to make the least number of mistakes, but he insists that AI tools should not rewrite your thesis, but only make appropriate corrections, and you would expect someone, it's something like you would expect someone reviews your work. So don't make ChatGPT or Gork or something to write your survey or something. If you do it, you're making biggest mistake in your life. And you will be caught as well, because they make so many mistakes. So where you can ask these AI tools, okay, fix all the errors, highlight the areas that are incomprehensive or something like that, and then you can write. Okay. And your thesis should have the following things: excellent introduction, which basically describes what research problem you are addressing, why is it interesting. I only wrote interesting, not necessarily important, because some theoretical results in let's say somebody doing number theory, like distribution of prime numbers, maybe nobody is interested, maybe some cryptography, right? It is interesting, but may not be important. Okay, but if it's important, you should also say, for example, somebody trying to study immunology on kidney rejection. And I think as a science, immunology is very important, but it's also important because it is going to reduce the number of transplant rejections. So importance also very, very important part of your thesis articulation. And you have and what you have contributed and the thesis outline. This is what the introduction is, followed by excellent survey, preferably already published material by you. And I believe that every should have a quality survey published. Each chapter containing. Is there background noise coming from? Each chapter hopefully contains one of your published works. Okay, and then final summary and conclusion. Any background noise in that? Okay. Andy, can I continue?
Yes, sir, you can continue, sir.
ఏంటండి నా బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ నాయిస్ ఎవరో మాట్లాడుతున్నారా?
Please continue, sir. Continue, sir.
ఓకే అండి.
Suresh, sir, please mute.
ఓకే సార్. So what's a good piece for AI related topics? Publications, avenues are very good. Andy. If you have a paper in neural information processing system, that's a phenomenal achievement, and it's followed by ICML, ICLR, AAI, and HI. These are the kind of journals, conferences you have. You made it.
Babu, Suresh garu.
Yeah. This is one of the best practices every student should follow, Andy. What you should do is, as a PhD student, you should have a plan that I want to publish in these avenues. And you need to know, suppose, let's say you're interested in publishing a paper in AAI, American Association of AI conference. You need to know when the conference is due. Let's say you also have a plan to ICML and so on. So what you do is you make a list of conferences and and put the due dates for submission. These days, submission dates are very rigid. They won't change it. Very, very rarely they change it by a week or 2 days. But generally they are very strict deadlines. So you make the list of them and order them according to the due dates. So then what you should do is generate some titles, initially. Okay, I'm going to send to AI some title A, and for ICML, title B, and so on. And maybe you have potential authors as well who would be collaborating with you on those papers. You should put their names in the order. And also, you should also allocate who is going to do work. Okay, my advisor will be writing the introductory note. Or you say, I will be writing the introductory note, but my advisor will review quickly within 2 days or something like that. So this is how you need to allocate work for everybody involved. Work out what needs to be done and keep working at these goals. I mean, this is how we practice, and we always try to meet. Sometimes we did miss deadline. Let's say you miss AAI, then we say, okay, we're going to ICML. Sometimes AAI is a lot easier than ICML because ICML would be more competition. And also, any place you want to submit, make sure you can, and you have finances to help. Many conferences these days provide a little bit of funding for travel. And every successful paper in a conference, try to turn it into a journal paper. Networking and collaboration is very, very important. Find those labs or groups of people working in the same area, because these days the papers come very quickly, and you should be able to note what is happening. These archives where people publish, and that's an important place. And try to connect with them. And sometimes those people are happy to provide some data. For example, if you could say, I'm doing the same work, but I have used different algorithms. Can we compare our results? Can we have access to our data? And then you say, you're willing to give your data, otherwise you won't get one way. And sometimes you have already have papers in archive, or you have preprints. You should share with them. Try to visit them. There are many supporting programs for such collaborations of exchange programs. Sometimes your advisor can facilitate such an exchange. And research advisors usually can help. Okay, and I think this is also very important to realize. PhD is not a part-time job. It is actually 200% job. If you are a professor, it is 100% job. PhD is a 200% job if you are really serious about it. But the income is only 20%. Okay, worst part of PhD is you feel you are not stressed until you enter third year, because you have nothing to show. and then you start panicking. And follow my advice for completing PhD. That is interaction and survey. If you're done in the first year or nearly done in the first year, I think you won't have any hurdle in finishing PhD in 3 years or 4 years maximum. If you can live on your PhD scholarship, sorry, I meant to say, do not engage in any job. Don't do any other teaching. Don't do any other job. If you are doing, you're making a mistake of your life. Okay, doing a PhD in 3 years is so much easier than completing in 5 or 6 years. The reason is research doesn't wait for you. Somebody else will write more results. That means you have to do 6 years of survey. You need to make sure that your work is not outdated. And even if you publish papers earlier, they look old. So be aware that try to finish in 3 years. Part-time PhD is twice harder than full-time for the same reason. Most will never, most of the part-time PhD students, they never complete their thesis because they have other distractions, family or job doing, or you forgot what you meant to do last week because some other job needs made you not to look at the thing. And your thesis supervisor forgot what you said 2 weeks ago. So all of these things is a big problem. So the only people I saw part-time able to succeed are the ones who already have academic jobs. They won't get a promotion unless they have a PhD. And these are the guys who tend to do PhD part-time, a little bit more, even they drag forever. The final thoughts of my talk is PhD is your baby. You need to work hard to do the best. Your PhD supervisor is not responsible for your PhD. A good advisor is the best solution for your PhD to complete. And your PhD supervisor should genuinely be interested in research. Now the internet, now with the accessibility of internet, you can do a best PhD in a very short time because you're not repeating somebody else's work. Easy to check that. And there are so many resources to use it. And one of the nicest things within computing and AI community is that we are very willing to share resources. We are happy to let somebody use our computers. We will very happy to use our software, and we're very happy to help them debug their code. I have seen so many people helping, and that's not the case in medical area or chemical engineering. And these guys, everybody thinks they are the next one to win the Nobel Prize, and they don't want to share. Whereas computer science are amazingly socialist-minded people, very helpful to each other. You can code with AI tools, excellent software available to do many things in research. So try to do as much as possible using these automated tools. And also give appropriate recognition. If you've done something, you say this code was produced using tool XYZ. Okay, and tell what kind of prompts you did, what kind of changes you made. And there are many public domain data sets available to address interesting problems, and be aware of that. Read all the relevant papers in the top tier, wrong spelling, top tier journals and conferences. And you should be reading fully understood. And I think I'm expecting my PhD students to read between 300 to 400 top quality research papers published in journals, again, spelling mistake, in conferences. Follow what leading research groups are doing and try to learn from them. Learn the best structure of writing papers like the Nature Journal, SIGMOD, ICLM. These are some of the very good conferences. And unless you write very well, they don't accept the paper. You have to have amazing results followed by amazingly clearly written papers. And this is what makes your PhD journey smooth and happy. Good luck and thank you. That's it, sir. I have finished my talk and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your valuable lecture, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ah.
Thank you so much, sir, for valuable information. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. How do I go back to my?
Thank you so much for the valuable session, sir. Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
okay, sir. I hope it's useful.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
sir.
good evening, sir.
sir.
We need your contact number, sir.
Very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Andy.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Good evening. I'm Ryan Babu, a part-time scholar in
Yeah. 1 second, Andy. How do I go back to the visual mode?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
I go to the share and then what do I do?
Stop screen sharing. Stop.
Stop
Stop
screen
screen
sharing.
sharing.
Stop screen sharing.
I can't see the button.
I
Share undi. అందులో multiple participants.
You click on the same arrow mark, sir.
I did that, and then it says, then I see all the windows. What do I do?
Stop screen.
Yeah, I
On
saw
the
that.
right corner.
I saw that.
Good evening, sir. Myself,
చెప్పండి.
it is very difficult to complete a PhD thesis and write a PhD thesis when somebody is working on part-time. But people like me who are already in teaching have no other way of. I'm myself getting on mute at times. Sir, I'm myself Ryan Babu, who is doing part-time PhD in chemistry, sir. In your talk, you told us that it is very difficult to complete research and getting a PhD in. Me who
Breakup అవుతుంది సార్.
I'm getting muted even though I myself unmuted.
Okay. Maybe అయితే చెప్తా సార్. Can you hear me at least?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm able to hear you, sir.
1 second, sir. 1 minute.